pressure's too great. Well, I'm here to tell you one thing. Remember this always. Never give up.
Never give up. Alright, Once again, here with you guys again today, man. Today gonna be a very unique day. Today I want to talk about 3 different rods that I use when I'm out on Lake Okeechobee. It's 3 go-to rods that I love to throw out when I'm out there, man. One being a swim bait rod, one being a punching stick, and one being just a regular flipping stick. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about each rod, how I rig them up, the line that I use, and the actual baits that I'm throwing them on. All right. So first, I'm gonna start off with my my punching stick. It is a 8-foot heavy action. It's a Power Max 3D rod. I have it paired up on a loose 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. Obviously, you need a real fast reel when you're punching these mats out here on Lake Okeechobee, just to kind of get that fish out of there real quick. All right. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the setup that I'm using. Obviously, you're gonna use a bobber stop. A bobber stop is simply just a little peg, little stopper, man, that kind of keeps the weight of the bait kind of really compact, keep everything from going up and down. Let me give you guys a version of what I'm talking about. All right. So I put the bobber stop on already. So then I'm gonna go on with my tungsten weight. It's a 1 ounce size tungsten weight. Really good for punching through those matted areas. Okay. It is I use the black one. They come in a variation of styles, colors. They're really cool, man. They punch right through that heavy vegetation type stuff. So what you'll do, you'll take the tail end of your line, and you'll take the tail end of that bullet weight. And what you'll end up doing is you'll drop it down on there, and obviously you can set it up. Let me get my line and stuff situated here. You can kind of set it up however you want. I like to try and pull mine down as far as I can. That way I can get some room to kind of tie my hook on without the weight pulling the weight of the line down so far. I use a 4-out trocar flipping hook. I got the ideal of these hooks from Scott Martin. He's very known on Lake Okeechobee. He's a Clewiston native, right up the street from us, here from South Bay. So this is what he liked to use. I found it to work very, very good for me. So it's your 4-out trocar flipping hook. It's what I like to use. I like to also tie a snell knot when tying these different setups. I'm gonna tell you guys why. I'm gonna tell you guys how to tie it up first, and then I'll tell you guys why I tie it that way. So what you'll end up doing, you'll end up taking the top of your line, turn your hook upside down just so that the hook side of it is facing up. You will then put it through the hole, and then you're gonna make a semicircle here at the bottom of it. I usually lose my thumb and my index finger to kind of hold it in place. And what you'll end up doing, you'll take it and you'll wrap it, I would say 4 to 5 times. I usually wrap mine anywhere between 4 to 5 times, depending on how fast I'm trying to get back in the water. That's what I normally would do. And then what you'll end up doing is you'll take the tail end of that line, stick it in that hole right there. And once you stick it in that hole, you'll then just pull it tight. And then obviously you'll cut all that extra line off. You'll cut the extra end of that line off. You always want to give yourself a little room before as you're getting ready to cut it, just in case you slide a little bit. You got a little bit more room there you got a little bit more room there to kind of catch it as it goes up. But here's the key part, guys. Here's the key point. You'll pull your bobber stopper all the way down. And this is the most significant part. When the tail end of that weight hit the bottom of that hook right there, it's gonna automatically fold up. Y'all see how that hook automatically kind of choke up a little bit? So that when the bass get ready to hit it, it automatically going in the top of his mouth. And that's what you want in your snell hook. That's why I tied that way, just to get that particular action out of it. It's really good when you're flipping those heavy covers. It increases your hook setup. It's a very known tie, and it's really good for catching bass. So, show you guys a couple of baits that I use. I use the Why Nots by Gambler. They're really good on Lake Okeechobee, anywhere between black and blue type colors, or you can go green pumpkin or anything like that. Dark colors work really well though. Show you guys real quick on how I would tie these baits up. Basically what I end up doing here is just go right through the mouth of it. Right through the mouth of it. Pull it down through. I like to kind of keep mine very, very weedless. So I would then just pull it through the bottom of it a little bit. Just a little bit. And then that's the setup that I like to use. Real simple, real smooth, very compact. That would be my punching setup. So when I'm flipping a lot of the sugar cane or heavy matted vegetation and different things like that, this is the setup that I go to when I'm punching. Again, you want to pair it up with a fast action reel, and then you also want to have a 7-1 or 8-to-1 gear ratio reel, just to kind of hurry up and real fast and get those baits out of there. I think that's also really, really key to getting those fishes out of there. But that's my flipping setup. That's what I like to use when I'm flipping. Now, one other rod that I like to use is my SwimBait. I like the SwimBaits because the SwimBaits are really, really key as well. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Big Easies, man. The Big Easy is a very known, swim bait on Lake Okeechobee. These are also made by Gambler as well. You can get them in a variation of colors. I like the black and blue. I also have them in a green, watermelon type color as well. They come in different sizes. Sometimes you have to play with the sizes. It just depends on what they're biting on. As you can see, this one right here I have on a 5/0 hook, but it's also weighted. And I also have one here that's not weighted. It floats more like a topwater bait. I find these to be more effective for me. Sometimes, you like to kind of put a little weight on it to kind of run it through anywhere between 2 to 3 inches right below the water column sometimes. So if you feel that, they're not necessarily hitting a topwater bait, you may want to switch it up and go with a weighted hook. So I'm going to show you guys how I rig it up with the weighted hook, just because I have it already here and it's already pretty shot up. So what I end up doing is, and again, guys, I'm throwing these on 65-pound braided line. Both my flipping setup and my swim bait setup are all tied up with 65-pound braid. You need some heavy-duty braid when you're on Lake Okeechobee, just because there's so much vegetation that's in the grass. So what you'll end up doing with these, you'll take it. I always turn mine, man, maybe about 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Just kind of depends again. I want to make sure I get a good knot in it, obviously. And then I will create a little small hole. I don't know if you guys can see that hole or not, but I create a little small hole in there, and then I take the tail end of my line, put it through. I like to, I don't know where I get this from, but I like to kind of wet mine a little bit. So I wet it up. I just think it's whole. I think it's whole a little better for me, personally. But that's just my personal idea. I'm not telling you guys you got to put your mouth on it or you got to wet it up with your spit or whatever you want to call it. But I just tend to what I do. It works for me, kind of keep everything in place, and I don't lose a lot of fish that way, nor do I break off very often. But this is just kind of how I like to tie mine. Here I have it paired up on I have this one paired up on a black 13 rod. It's one of their favorite rods. It is a 7/4 medium heavy action rod, also with a fast taper as well. And then I have it paired up on a 6-4-1 gear ratio. I probably should have it on a 7, but it works fine for me. Whenever I'm setting that hook and getting those fish out of there, I usually don't have much of an issue with that. So that's my swim bait rod. Again, I can change it from a Big Easy to a swim jig. I can change it to a just regular swim bait. And then I can also change it and change reels and use fluorocarbon line if I want to change it to do a little bit more finesse type fishing with it. It's a really great reel. Again, this is the Black 1374 heavy action reel. Now, my last one that I want to talk about is my little small flipping stick. I have it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. I like fluorocarbon just because fluorocarbon gives me a minimum amount of stretch in the line. It's a 7-foot. I have it paired up on a 6-4-1 gear ratio reel. It's a Bass Pro reel. This is probably the most inexpensive rod I have in my arsenal. It's very, very affordable. I think I got this reel. I think I got the rod from Dick's, I believe. But either way, guys, it's very inexpensive. It's a very inexpensive rod. You can find it at any local tackle shops, I believe. So that's that. Okay, I have it here on an ounce tungsten weight. Very, very small, just enough to kind of get through the little small vegetation that I may be flipping this particular bait in. Don't know if you guys can see it that well, but that's the small tungsten that I use. Okay, so I pegged this up very simply. Again, guys, I have the bobber stopper already on, and again, as you can see, it stops right there, which I think is extremely cool. Okay, and then I have a 4-aught hook here that I like to use when doing so. Now, this one I would rig up a little bit different than I would rig up my flipping baits. Again, put it through the hole, get you a couple spins in there, and then I just put it through that little hole again. I like to wet mine. Not saying that that's something that you necessarily have to do, it's just something that I do. I find my hookup ratios to be a little bit better. And obviously, you want to leave a little bit line in there just in case you kind of slide a little bit when you set the hook or whatever the case may be, and it works extremely well. Now, for these particular baits, I enjoy using beaver baits. Beaver baits are made by actually it's made by Strike King. They come in a variation of colors. You can get them in green pumpkin, you can get them in black and blue. And you also can get them two-tone, where one side of them are black and one side of them are blue. So they're really cool baits. Obviously, you want to try to nip the ends of them a little bit. That's the way you get a little bit more vibration in the water when you're flipping these baits. They're really good baits, guys. The bass in Lake Okeechobee, they absolutely love them. I was just out on last Sunday, and I didn't catch any fish until I started flipping these little baits. In between those lily pads and heavy grass lines and stuff like that. So they're really good baits to use while you're out there. Obviously, you want to play with the colors. Dark colors always work. Green pumpkin and things like that always work as well. How we rig them up. So basically what you'll do, you'll take the top end of your hook here, go through the top of them, and you will rig it pretty much like a Texas rig. You'll go in through it, spin it. That way you're getting the tail end of your hook out the back side of it. And then I like to make mine a little bit weedless, just because, again, there's so much grass out on Lake Okeechobee, so I like to try and make mine weedless. So when I put mine through the bottom end here, I may just tuck it into the bottom of it to make it look like a speed worm, or, you know, what we grew up using, like red shads and stuff like that. You know, we always end up tucking it a little bit just to kind of make that bait weedless. So then what you'll do, you'll just bring your bobber stop down, and now you got your flipping set up. And that's pretty much what I use. Again, this is a 7-foot rod. It's a Barkley rod, so they're very they're very doable rods. Not that expensive. I have it tied up on 20-pound fluorocarbon, and that's kind of how I do it. It's very, very compact, very, very compact, but it gives out for a lot of action. For when you're flipping. Again, you can play with the colors of your beaver bait however you may. But that's pretty much how I throw it and how I use it when I'm throwing it. So that's a pretty cool setup. those are my three, guys. So I have my three here, all set up and ready to go. I have my flipping set up. Again, I have them on 65-pound braids, an 8-foot, 7-to-1 gear ratio. I have my SwimBait rod, which is a 7.3 medium heavy action rod. And then I have my 7-foot small flipping stick, man, when I'm just, flipping to just some isolated cover in the water. Again, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Please remember to comment, share, like. Remember builttolast21.com. Visit the website. That way you guys get an idea on what we're doing with the kids. It's a lot of information on there, guys. So I really appreciate you guys for tuning in with that. Stay tuned for more to come, definitely more to come. Obviously, you guys see I have a lot of different setups here, but these are the main three things that I like to talk about when I'm out on the lake, because it's the main things that I throw more than anything. So you guys just continue to just be a part of what we're doing. Again, remember to like, comment, and set hooks.